Tom in terms of a meter update, but I've got one here somewhere.
I think 288.
Yeah, I'm just looking for it now. I'm trying to find it.
Was that as of today or?
Mm-mm.
Okay, yeah, Monday is 218.
218, okay.
218 installed, 495 remaining.
Yeah, so you found it then.
Yeah.
Tom is working on getting second notice hangers for doors, front, for door hangers. He said with Snow Creek, we're most likely going to have to rely on Jason's crew more to fulfill some appointments. I'm not really sure what that means. Jason's crew, I guess, is not plowing, so they're available to do plowing.
I have to admit, I didn't know either.
I think the DPW would be doing plowing and sanding,
Mhm.
and that's why they're not as available.
Yeah,
Or traffic lights.
Yeah, some of that, they're working on that
Yeah.
today.
Mhm.
yeah. The traffic light company's been back this week, it looks like.
Yeah.
So,
The
so it looks like the failure rate in terms of people that need
yeah.
repairs was, what, 15% or so?
That's high when you think about it.
Yeah.
Actually.
Most of them are plumbing repairs. A few, I think there were 8 or 9 structural ones.
Yeah. I guess we don't really have a figure as to like how many of those are getting addressed or have been addressed.
Yeah. Well, you can kind of tell about the ones that have been addressed from the subcategory of the 218 that were plumber installed as opposed to Corey's crew installed.
Mhm.
So it looks like some people.
Oh, I see. That's what that
Yeah.
means.
Yeah,
Okay.
so some people have been taking care of their issues.
Okay. So the city has installed 196 then,
Yeah,
and third parties have done 22.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's
Okay.
what it sounds like.
Yeah.
So,
Well, they almost doubled their target.
Mhm.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, for sure.
And I think we thought the target was going to be not necessarily reachable, so.
Right.
Yeah.
So, yeah, they're way ahead of
So much for what we know, right?
Yeah.
we hoped.
Yeah, I guess we don't really have an update as to how many funds we have left to buy meters, but that will
No.
shake out.
Yeah, that was a question I had for Rick, actually. I
Yeah.
haven't had a chance to ask him about it. And the third item I put on the list regarding budget creation is to some extent ties into the financial task force and Rick and department heads in terms of what do they want from us, if anything.
Okay, hold on. I'm gonna write some notes while we're at it. First note is how much funding is left to purchase meters. And then,
Right.
John, would you restate that?
Oh, yeah, how much funding is left, and that's dependent on how the water tower
Yes.
bond settles out in terms of final numbers.
Do I have the final expenses on it too?
That, yeah, I don't know if they do.
So
That's
it depends on the water tower expenses and bond.
the water tower expenses, the final water tower expense figure is going to determine what's left over to go towards meters.
But we should have a sort of potentially rough ballpark.
Yeah,
I felt like we've been expecting those for
a while.
a while. Okay.
Yeah.
So maybe contractors are slow to get invoices in.
Or it could be it should be a punch list now, I think.
Well, they were just doing cleanup at the site here within the last week or two.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Reseeding the places they disturbed, and a fence has gone up around the tower now that I can see from my office
Okay.
window.
Yeah. Okay.
And
Damn,
details.
childhood fun was climbing the water towers.
The water
Acts of
infrastructure is
terrorism.
considered
Yeah.
national security, so
Yeah.
yeah, there are terrorist
Yeah.
issues that come into
Yep.
Yeah.
what you do now.
Okay, so you had a second question, right? Beyond the remaining funds.
Yeah, that was, that question relates to the meter installation specifically. And the next item I put on the agenda was what role, if any, is our group expected to play in budget creation? for the upcoming year, because we need to put a budget, or there needs to be a budget presented to the council in its capacity as water commissioners and sewer commissioners for the fiscal year beginning July 1, 2026. At least if we're going to do what we're supposed to do.
Probably should. Yeah.
Yeah. Nice change of pace.
Aren't
Yeah.
they, this is probably gonna open a can of worms, but isn't there talk of like revising the charter and wouldn't water commissioners kind of go away and it would,
Now, water commissioners would not go away if the
Okay.
charter's revised, because that's a function of state statute.
okay,
It's
okay, so
state
that is
law.
the term that they use.
Yeah,
Okay,
because
okay.
state law essentially says that the council or select board in a town that has a municipal water system acts as water commissioners, and if they have a municipal sewer system, they act as sewer commissioners.
Okay.
It seems kind of silly to have to wear three hats when it could just be the council, but
Yeah.
that's what the
But I guess they
statute
could
says.
appoint the water, like commissioners?
Well, there is actually a way to do that. You
Yeah.
can actually appoint a separate board
Yeah, okay.
to do it if you want to add that layer of
Complexity.
intermediate bureaucracy to
Yeah,
it.
Yeah.
So that's probably the logic of having the separate descriptors. I mean, all it really boils down to is the council should be approving whatever budget goes into the annual report for the upcoming year, based on some, hopefully,
Reasonable.
reasonable projections and information. You know, we at least, you know, we have the audit from last year, we have we're coming up on 2 quarters for the current year.
So, the audit from last year does not speak the same language as the updated NEMREC codes.
And that's another part of the question in terms of,
So it's not gonna be easy for us to project based on codes that have changed.
correct. And
That might be wrong,
and there's
because I think there's some interrelation that they had between the two.
Supposedly, yeah, if I understood the presentation correctly, there's going to be a mechanism where old codes and lines plug into the new system, so that they can generate a report using the new codes.
Okay.
Yeah.
I thought I understood that. I hope I understood it that way,
Well-
because otherwise I don't know how you do it.
I think
Without a
Pam
lot
and
of-
I both agree with that somehow it's intertwined, so, yeah.
So we can
You
say
can say business,
it's safe to assume that we can utilize the audit report as our baseline budget and try to project
Yes.
from there.
Uh,
Or is that more of a question?
I think it's more using the year-end
As mo-
sheets, yeah,
The year-end sheets is modified by the new codes.
codes, yeah.
Or the audit report is modified by the new codes.
But the audit report only has gross figures in it, so it's just, you know, if you want,
Right.
yeah. So basically, it's the financials, whatever the hell they call it, the general ledger,
Yeah.
budget status report.
Yeah, so that's,
Tom is titular head of water and sewer, so you would think he's got to have input into that budget as he has into his budget
Right.
for,
exactly,
Yeah.
yeah.
and that information would, you two have to combine your knowledge to get a budget.
Yeah, and Tom always does the budget, or, usually does. I think there are a number of years when he hasn't, except for the revenue, so I think he does the expense side.
He does
not
the
revenue.
expense side.
Yeah, yeah,
You might have to consider whether or not you're going to be able to put 5% that you committed into the capital
Yeah,
fund that hasn't really been established yet, but you put that into the budget.
we actually,
And I'll bet it got eaten.
yeah, we actually won't know if we have that until after June 30, 2026.
yeah.
But committing another 5% when you don't have any information about whether or not you even managed to put the 5% away this year seems a little disingenuous, if that's the right word.
I think we should always try to strive for at least 5%, whether we make it or not.
But the state law says basically that if you are going to put 5% on top of your budget, that you will establish a fund that it will go into, and that you will put the money into it. It's not like other funds.
Oh, okay.
If you read the state, then I can provide it. I didn't bring my little.
No, that's interesting. I was not aware of that. I was looking at it as a sort of reserve
It's not
fund.
like any of the other funds. Don't do it or do it. But if you do it, it says you have to put it in. But somebody else can interpret that, and you guys can interpret it, and
Yeah.
I'll bring the statute for you next time.
But realistically speaking, if you've got that money there and you're going to run a deficit if you don't do that, then you're going to cover your deficit first, I would think.
It's an interesting scenario if you think about it.
Or you could raise rates to
Right.
meet your deficit and still put the money that you committed to
Right.
in the
Yeah.
fund.
Except for the time frame that we don't know until the very end. That, that's, as you point out, you don't know whether you have the money or something.
Well, I'm not
like that.
saying that.
Yeah.
I'm saying that if you commit to putting the
Fund in,
5% in
yeah.
the fund, you put it in as you go all year, and that money's there. You don't wait till the end to see if you have money to put it in.
I've got to change my brain cells on that,
Yeah.
yes, yeah.
So what that suggests is if you don't make the 5%, then you have a deficit that you have to raise rates for in the next cycle after that.
Yeah,
Well, I mean, I think you should all look at the statute and see how it
Yeah.
plays out. If it plays out as I say, or you find some other glitch to it, but that's the way I see it.
So anyway, it sounds like we need information from Rick and Tom.
Do we have an understanding of like what Tom's typical approach to creating a budget is? Like, do we wait for him? Do we let him take the first go at it and then we kind of pull it apart? Or, I mean, I don't really feel like any of us are in the position to create Tom's
No.
budget for him, but
I think he basically needs to come in with the first draft of it,
Yeah.
just because he knows, for instance, at the sewer plant, you've got a lot of fixed costs, salary, benefit, utilities, and so on. You've got whatever, if any, bonds tie into the fund, same with water. There's a lot of fixed expense involved.
And we've also talked about billing this time, water and sewer, billing everybody in the city for the water and sewer usage that they have, so that there should be more income coming in to the water and sewer funds.
Well, the rate adjustments would generate more income theoretically.
But we're talking about places that don't now pay for their water. For instance, recreation doesn't pay for
Oh, right.
water
Yeah,
in many places. I
so
don't know, the fire department may not pay everywhere for its water.
Beach doesn't pay,
right, yeah, I mean, those aren't big money by any
I don't
means,
know.
but they're,
but they still have to be.
yeah,
well, they should be, yeah.
yeah.
okay, so I'll just include interdepartmental
Interdepartmental.
budgeting.
But
Because
interdepartmental
also
budget.
if it's in the water, they pay the water, they pay the sewer, and with the sewer, it gets shared with Derby. It's part of the,
Yeah.
in and out,
Interdepartmental billing budgets
Yeah.
included in
Water and sewer,
yeah,
water sewer
revenue projections.
projections, yeah.
right.
Which would help out a little bit on the rate if more income was coming in from other sources.
I wonder about that, like maybe at the individual level, but like wouldn't it all kind of like washed out in the property taxes?
Different people pay. Obviously, taxes would pay more.
Yeah,
And water and sewer
and users would
rates
pay
be
less. Yeah.
Technically.
But is it gonna be measurable? Who knows?
I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, it may not make a huge difference in the grand scheme of things.
But it's cleaner accounting.
Yeah.
And it provides a more accurate
Usage.
indicator of the actual overhead cost of operating Prouty Beach, say,
Yeah.
in terms of
Yeah.
setting a rate structure.
Overall, the usage is not that much. I mean, obviously, when we're talking the, greenhouse there, in summer it is, but some of the other ones are not.
That must be significant because of the showers there and the washer dryer.
It really is not that significant.
That's weird.
A lot of those people go home to shower and wash.
But all of the people who come to the Days of Prouty Beach use the showers there.
Yeah.
For the day? What do you mean by that? Oh, you mean like beachgoers?
Yeah.
Yeah, sure, yeah.
Anybody who comes in and swims, use the showers there.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, in the grand scheme of things, I don't think showers are big users. I think,
Washers can be if
Wa-
they're,
if old washers-
and old toilets certainly.
old
are.
toilets, leaks,
Yeah.
running things that run,
Yeah.
Yeah.
that are just perpetually running.
I'll pull that information because we do have some gross information.
And Mike would probably you'd like that information to have so that he can say with certainty what he should set aside to pay his water bill.
Yeah.
And what about the dock? Doesn't water go out to boats at the dock?
A few,
Some, I
Yeah.
guess.
yeah, not everybody, only a few,
Yeah.
yeah. And
It's
that's,
potable.
yeah,
Yeah.
and that's certainly not a big amount by any
Yeah.
means,
Yeah.
because,
But again, people use the facilities at the dock.
Mhm.
right, yeah, the restrooms there.
Yeah.
And there was all kinds of confusion with how that, well, it's not just the restaurants, there are the bathrooms there. And there was a lot of confusion about who was actually paying for that, because at one point, if you remember, Jennifer, it got billed to the Northern Star until they separated some of that, 'cause the electricity bill screwed up too.
To the pumps.
They had to re-meter everything there.
Yeah. Because they never thought they were gonna have both there.
With giant air blowers all winter long.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And then they had a second one last year, which I
Okay,
guess
so-
does not get to move this year, or maybe it will.
So
Yeah.
how do we want to capture this in a note? Like, I see interdepartmental billing, but what about, how do we want to, capture these little tiny usages, like the docks?
Well, that's in interdepartmental.
That's all interdepartmental.
They're-
But aren't we gonna ask you to kind of like provide numbers for that sort of thing?
Yeah,
So the
yeah, it's
departments.
not a problem, yeah,
Okay, so I'll say
yeah,
JH to provide rough
yeah.
usage rates for Prouty, what, fire department?
All the city.
All municipal,
The fire
usages.
department gets, fire department itself, I don't know.
I don't even know if there's a meter over there.
Yeah, I'm not sure there's a meter there.
I'll just say to
Certainly,
provide
you know,
rates for municipal,
yeah.
usage rates for municipal
Yeah,
buildings,
those are-
properties,
Yeah,
amenities.
yeah.
yeah,
Okay.
that would cover everything.
And I think there's one, what is it? It might be the ice rink. Whatever is it, the ice rink does not have a meter.
That's a fair amount of water.
Mm-hmm.
Dumping all that water to make the ice rinks.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's an
So
important
there is one that I know there's something, and whether it's the ice rink or whatever it is, yeah.
And I don't know if you guys want to get involved with it or where it's going to get involved, but there are costs for salaries or parts of salaries that come from other departments and that haven't even been decided yet. For instance, when we do get a city manager, how much of her salary or his salary is going to be charged to water and sewer for the work that they do.
That's,
And you need an estimate, basically, in order to figure out a decent water and sewer budget, you need an estimate of what they're predicting they're going to be.
and that, but that's gotta, yeah, but that's gotta come from Rick, because we can only throw a dart at the board because we don't have that person, nor do we know the workload. So,
And a lot of
Maybe
it
we wanna
deals
cap-
with grants too, because obviously the city manager or the grants management person in managing the grant would be, you know.
We never know what grants mean though in terms of a budget. We don't put it in the budget.
No.
And then the grant money sort of seems to disappear in terms of whether or not you, as an individual department, have stayed within your budget or haven't stayed within your budget. And it may depend upon whether, a grant simply came in and helped you out.
Well, it's kind of weird to have a grants manager who's supposed to be managing grants across 5 different departments. Like, these departments should be having their own grants and managing their own budgets of those grants. Because Frank is not going to know exactly what Mike's going to try to do with those funds, or whether it's Tom or Mike or.
But if it
Or else.
duplicates something that you've already budgeted, then there's excess money in your department, and the question really is that money, should not that money be available to be put into a sinking fund for some other purpose? Not the grant money, because grant money you've got to use for the thing, but the excess money.
And very often you took money from the public as well at the same time, because you couldn't predict if you were going to get the grants. So the funding that was needed was written into the body of the budget. In
And then
comes the
the
grant,
grant.
and look, there's this extra money,
Yeah.
it vanishes, where does it go?
It's something where potentially, you either budget for it or you don't, and this is, it's always been a dicey, of late, a very dicey
Yeah. We
situation.
remember a lot of the discussions,
Yeah.
some of which were more scary than others.
Yeah, because it can be sizable. I think right now, it looks like, you haven't really applied for any major grants. We've had some major
Just some
ones.
small things.
Yeah, but, it's sort of like the Zodiac, that was all paid for by a grant and had been
6 years ago.
mentioned. Yeah, and I didn't realize hadn't missed a couple of papers, that had been reported in the paper right before that, but, just, it sort of stood out when you think you're in a level of sort of budgetary freeze, potentially, but I don't know. I think we've got to do one step at a time, and certainly getting the grants overall straightened out within the city is something that is possibly really sort of almost beyond this board, but we
Yeah.
certainly can keep it on the table for discussion.
So the last couple minutes, the only thing I added was city manager and other municipal staff % utilization across various departments.
And from what I gather from what we learned with the percentages that have been passed down to what was something like what Jonathan did, because I think he tracked his time, that, there's no active grant at that point. He was managing, so he did not spend as much time
Managing grants.
or managing water and sewer.
Oh.
I think that's right, or do you know, you're looking cross-eyed, so.
Yeah, because I sat here during a lot of those discussions with Jonathan and know that what he was asked to do was not what happened, so.
Oh, okay, so that's not valid information?
It's certainly a significant amount of misinformation.
And it's not only, when I think about it, especially between water and sewer and the general fund or Tom's department, it's not only salaries, it's equipment. So you buy a piece of equipment that you're going to share between water, sewer, and Tom's department.
They used to come up with, for some pieces of equipment, they were just dividing it in thirds, depending on what it was.
Okay, so then I'm gonna tweak this.
Yeah.
We're gonna have this interdepartmental billing topic, and then there's usage rates for actual water and sewer. There's staff utilization, and we're gonna include
This is the
supplies and equipment.
Yeah,
Yeah, the capital expense for
Yeah.
equipment, like, when you buy an excavator, how much do you actually do that's road work
yeah.
with an excavator versus how much do you do that's water and sewer work? I
But
suspect-
it's relevant to gas and maintenance
Yeah,
going forward as well. If you used it 20% of the time in water and sewer, they should be paying 20% of the gas, 20% of the maintenance.
I think the question does come down, at least in my mind, to at what point is it too much paperwork to make it
It's a
cost
complete pain in the
effective?
ass to track a $5 gas receipt if you're using $2 of that gas on a water project, and the next $3 of it gets spent 2 months later on a sewer project. Like that's an inefficiency that we need to avoid.
I
think the staff and
on machinery would.
I don't even think it's well, maybe. I think if it's a piece of equipment and it has an hour meter on it, that's entirely reasonable.
Yeah.
But if you are buying a dispensable supply of something,
Yeah.
then it should be built entirely to that purpose, unless you're buying in bulk for some reason, which we don't do much. I wouldn't imagine there's many bulk purchases that span multiple department usages. Like if we're buying a bulk water meters, it's going to water.
Yeah.
Right? We're decided it's not shared across sewer anymore. So if they're buying chemicals in bulk for the wastewater plant, that's going to sewer. If they're spending a couple of DPW hours with their guys on sewer, they get billed a sewer. But like if they're borrowing pencils out of the box,
Yeah.
they're not going to track that. Like we gotta set some realistic
Sure.
limits.
Yeah, I mean, you definitely can get too carried away with it
Yeah.
in terms of the level of detail.
Yeah.
I mean, it's sort of why, the water meters were in water and sewer, because if you had a water meter, it was your basis for your sewer department,
Right.
for your sewer bill. So,
Yeah, exactly.
it made perfect sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, I think one of the things is, we refer to it as baby steps.
Yeah.
Just address certain items that are the low-hanging fruit, and then
Easy to
go-
track.
Yeah, yeah, and then see if it's worth it. But,
Because like what I'm struggling with is like, okay, you've got, the vac truck owned by the sewer department, probably primarily owned by the sewer department. They might use it on a couple water projects. When a DPW guy works on that vac truck, changing the oil, who do we bill that to? Is it worth billing that across departments, or is that just DPW doing DPW work?
I think option 2.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
or another way to do it is just to come up with general percentages across the board.
Yeah.
And maybe they have those records in the past years where they have an idea of what they've
Well,
spent.
they have done allocations historically based on percentages.
Yeah.
But whether the percentages are realistic is another question, but Tom's payroll sheets are detailed enough that people have a good idea.
People are important.
Yeah.
People are reporting, in his department, report where they spend their hours generally.
And to me, that's the most important piece.
Yeah, whether it's plowing or
Yeah.
a water leak or doing
Yeah.
sewer work
Yeah.
or ditching or whatever it is. He has the records within the context of payroll. And
You can back that out.
I was talking to a couple of people that were on the council years ago who said that part of the reason that you have all of the weird breakdowns in the past budget that make it impossible to follow a salary line, for instance, that Chip has been talking about. Part of that is there were a couple of people on the council years ago who wanted all of that tracked in the budget and not just through payroll records and breakdown of payroll analysis, which is directly contrary to what Chip is saying. You use your payroll timesheets to track that stuff. You don't try to create umpteen hundred codes in your budget to track it. You just use the payroll reporting module to track it, and you get all the information without screwing up your budget.
Yeah, making it navigable.
What we don't know is what was the system back then,
Payroll
compared to
system?
NEMRC, yeah.
Probably
Yeah.
a punch card.
Yeah, almost, yeah.
Yeah, I'm not quite sure how they did it,
Yeah.
but the payroll system evolved in part to create the information to put into all of those oddball codes.
Yeah.
I mean, when you realize, when I came on council, we were just getting a computer there.
For the first time.
Yeah, in the 80s.
Oh yeah, they've had the old green ledger sheets before then.
Oh, yeah. We've come a long way, yeah,
And
Still got a little ways to go.
yeah.
so,
So
It was a private company that who did the system. So now having the municipal system is, obviously a huge improvement.
Was that company that Dave Dietrich worked
Yeah,
for way
yeah,
back, the one that
yeah.
did it? Yeah, they,
Can't remember its name, yeah.
oh yeah, I don't either.
Yeah.
They were like the computers that were the size of refrigerators.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Better than the whole room, which is what Slalom had, was a whole
Yeah.
refrigerated room with
yeah. Back in the
computers.
'70s, I
Yeah.
got a job for a few hours as a key puncher on a project that was a DARPA grant. And the computer was it was in a 40 by 100 room, and it took up about 80% of the floor space, and one wall along the room were key punch stations, 100-foot wall. And you'd put all the key punch cards in at one end of this thing, walk down the 80-odd feet to the other end, and
Would you like some blank?
hours
key
and
punch
hours
cards?
later,
I have a whole
they'd
pile
spew
of
out.
them.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. it
those
was,
were the days.
Yeah, one of my college roommates hooked me into that. He was working for the guy who was our school's head of the research program that led to the predecessor of the internet. So we had no idea what the hell we
I
were
was
doing.
gonna say, DARPA's a
Keep
scary
punching.
sounding entity to work with.
Yeah,
Okay, so we've got the tools that we have at our discretion: audit, report, year-end sheets from NEMRIC. We've got Tom needs to submit a draft budget for review.
Yeah.
We've got interdepartmental billing and all that comes along with that. What other roles would we have? We can't approve anything. We can make recommendations
yeah. It's basically just recommendations and
to
yeah.
the DPW director and ultimately to the council to approve or disapprove.
Right, and having in mind that 2 billing cycles from now, we would be headed into that July 1 of 26, June 30, 27 fiscal year. And we, depending on what that budget looks like and how the current year shapes up, we may be looking at another round of rate adjustments.
Okay, I need you to summarize that again. So June, we have to make a recommendation by March, right?
Well, the recommendations for the budget have to be done by
January.
January.
Be published for a March meeting.
Right. And then, depending on what those look like, we may be spending March and April looking at rate adjustments to go into effect to fund that 26-27 budget.
Rate adjustments.
I have a concern about the difference between what happens with the general fund and what happens with water and sewer. The budget for the general fund is something that we strive to stay within the budget for the end of the year. We're hoping that the expenses and the income and everything in an ideal world will come out and that we will be at nothing. The taxes we bring in
Plus
and everything else.
5%, right?
Plus,
Nothing plus 5%, right?
yeah, but what I'm saying, well, we budgeted for that 5% too, so that should be there too.
Yeah, the real,
What I find ironic, I don't know how to rationalize it totally with respect to water and sewer, is you make a budget, ideally, and at the end, we should stay within the budget. We should bring in just the income that we are predicting that we are going to need
To make it through the year.
to make it match. But if you say that each time you look at the situation and we're behind the 8 ball in terms, and we raise the rate and we raise the rate, you're bringing in possibly more income than you promised you were going to bring in.
Well, we're also in
From
a
the budget.
deficit.
well, but there's a fundamental distinction, which is that most of the expenses associated with running the water and sewer systems are fixed expenses, but the income, part of the income is totally unpredictable because it's dependent entirely on what people's usage is. And the big picture trend over the last 10 or so years since metering started, as I understand it, is that usage has been declining. But the expense, because most of the expenses are fixed, you know, we're reasonably, now I haven't looked at this to know if this is true or not, but we may be reasonably close on the expense side, but it's the income side that's totally out of
Yeah,
whack.
I have no problem with us raising rates
Yeah.
to meet the income that you estimated you were going to
Yeah.
need.
Yeah.
But if you go beyond, if your rates are earning more income, then that's a situation in which you're also you're not staying within your budget.
Well, on the income side, if you end up with a surplus, then for the following year, that suggests either that no rate increase is necessary because you roll the surplus over to cover increased costs,
Or you reinvest in the system.
or you put it into reserves, or if it's an egregious enough surplus, you lower the rates in the following year.
Yeah, that posits that you haven't spent more money on expenses than you should have.
Well, but
What do you mean
So,
by
but I'm
should
saying
have?
we haven't,
What do you
well-
mean by should? What you budgeted for?
what you
or-
budgeted for.
So the-
In other words, I'm just saying that you should
Yeah.
use your budget to make sure that you stayed within your expenses, and you should
Within reason,
use,
yeah.
yeah, within reason, and that you should use your income that you predicted you were going to do, and your rate should, yes, they have to rise to make sure your income is met. I agree with that. But if you exceed your expenses or you exceeded your budgeted income, then you've got a situation that Rick is talking about in the general fund where he wants people to stay within the budget.
And
And I'm just suggesting that we should think about that in water and sewer as well,
And
that we should
I
stay.
think we are thinking about it, but one of the things we have to recognize is we just added on a major sort of expense in agreeing to pay for meters out of the, you know, whatever we call it, the water tower fund. And that, if, you know, that's from our budget tower.
No, I'm saying,
basket.
I understand why our budget,
So as long as you see that the budget goes up because of water meters and anything else, I think we're trying to stay within that level.
but we haven't looked at that to judge whether or not we're staying within our budget yet. And I think it's something that we should look at to
Yeah.
make sure that we don't allow expenses to go kaflooey and then just raise water rates to meet them, and that we don't raise our income beyond what we said we needed for the expenses.
Agreed, and I think we do have to review, you know, the budget, which is why I've got a printout of it. Yeah, and just look, and there are some line items that are fairly well expended fully, and, you know, worrisome if, at this point in time in the year.
We've told the public that the meters are funded in other ways
Yeah.
and therefore should not be indicating costs going up and that the
Except-
public is
yeah.
then responsible
Yeah,
for.
yeah, and the public is not, but what I'm saying is, it's gonna end up where its expense is in the water and sewer budget. So when we look at the water and sewer budget for June 30th next year, there's gonna be this, you know, huge expense, which hopefully, sort of like the grants, will have a offset of the income coming in, you know, so,
yeah, we'll be grossly over budget on the meter expense
So-
item, but we'll also have the income from whatever's left over
I
in the
mean-
water tower to hopefully offset that.
yeah.
This year's budget was not brilliantly put together, in that we had many expenses that we could have predicted that we didn't predict, like the interest on the loan, or, you know, various aspects that hadn't been put in. So obviously you needed to raise rates to meet those things.
Yeah.
But if we have a good budget, I'm just saying, we
Yeah.
should be able to stay, whatever I mean by within the budget, and not raise rates just,
Perpetually.
Yeah,
I'm sorry,
Perpetually.
perpetually. Will not raise rates without considering, are we within what we meant originally by the budget?
yeah. And I think we're gonna get there. Right now, we're still in borderline crisis mode. obviously.
Well,
because,
that and like there's a cart and the horse thing going on here too. Like we can't say with certainty that our recent rate adjustments are going to cover our expenses without seeing an updated budget from Tom. Right? Like we can project the revenue that we're going to generate with our rate adjustments, but until Tom provides us with a 2026 expense budget, we have nothing to really look at.
Right, yeah. Yeah, we just need that initial draft of a 2026, 27 budget as a place to start.
So, I guess to Pam's question, like if Tom's number comes in at 2 million and our revenue comes in at 1.8 million, you know, what do we do? Do we try to cut expenses, or are you saying we should try to wean our expenses so that our revenue matches, or that we and avoid increasing the rates, or do we
I mean, a budget at the beginning has to equal, the amount of income that you're bringing in has to equal the amount
it
of
should. It didn't for 8
expenses.
year, but yeah, it should.
Yeah, I mean, well, that's the
why it
goal.
didn't.
Yeah,
Well, the
yeah.
reality is it probably never has exactly.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's going to be off a little every year when we're.
Well, I guess like that's kind of what I'm getting at with this question is like, what is your degree of tolerance here? You know, like, are we talking plus or minus 5% within target because you can't project water main blowouts? You know?
Whatever the general fund is using for its plus or minus percentage, I think that's
We should
what-
emulate it.
That's right. I mean, whatever Rick says when he says, we're not gonna go over budget this year, whatever he means by that,
Okay.
that I'm sure you could go over, 1,000 or whatever your number is, but that's the same kind of thing you should think about in
Sure.
water and sewer, and not, because when I hear you talking about we're gonna have to raise water and sewer rates forever, basically, that's fine, but that can also occur simply because that we're not watching how good we're handling expenses.
Right, well,
Sure.
that's a totally separate issue. You
Right.
can raise rates
Indefinitely.
despite watching expenses because costs are beyond your control and the fixed costs of the system are the majority costs. And
I'm also thinking about like, it's one thing to put money into the capital fund, but it's another thing to put money into leak detection and understanding how much losses we have. And I don't think it's unfair to try to build a pot of money to do just that, so that we don't have to indefinitely raise rates and waste a bunch of water. So we don't even have a clue as to what that will cost or take, or how much time it will take.
Yeah.
But that's something that like Paul loses sleep over. You can tell about how much water we might be losing in the system, and I don't know if
well, and if you look at what they pumped 10, 12, 15 years ago compared to what they pump now, it's clear that an awful lot of leaks have been fixed because people aren't saving those hundreds of thousands of gallons a day just from
Themselves.
taking shorter showers or changing their toilets out.
But to your point, I think you should budget for that. If that's the thing that's important to you, then
Right,
that's
yeah.
a budgeted expense for next year
Yeah,
of
yeah.
an X amount of money, and I have no problem
with your money going towards that,
that's right, the income,
Yeah.
the rates being raised for that.
as long as there's an intended purpose for it.
You got it.
Yeah.
So that I don't think the money is leaking out
It's just
the
being
way the
squandered.
water is leaking
Yeah.
out.
Because the money has been leaking out the way the water has, and you're going to get a lot of public scrutiny. Very good reason.
Yeah.
Well,
Well,
but it's
we're
also
trying,
pretty
yeah.
apparent that with no rate increases for 7 years and expenses going up, that something had to give somewhere.
Yeah, but we've taken care of a bit of that with the
Right.
loan that the sewer,
Right, yeah.
repaid,
Now
and now
playing
we're supposed
catch
to
up.
be equal. I mean, we're supposed to be at a starting level.
Jennifer promises that we'll be equal. at the end of
No,
this quarter.
Jennifer's always said we are not. And Rick is the one who promises, we're gonna make it. I keep on saying.
We're not gonna make it.
Yeah.
So I just want to be
Yeah.
clear, like, is what you're asking us to just ensure that income and expenses are going to be aligned? Is that what it boils down to? Because I feel like that was kind of the objective from the start.
And I'm trying to make sure that your budget has a meaning, because your budget has no meaning if what happens is, once you look at the expense side, you say, oh, we gotta raise the rates because, we've gotta meet
Fill
all
that
of these
gap.
expenses.
Yeah.
And we know, as you just pointed out, expenses are gonna go up because of inflation, this, that, and the other thing. And then you spend all your time just raising rates, and you're not controlling, in any sense, expenses. You're not really monitoring, are these expenses really needed? And with respect to income, you're not sort of saying, should we be raising income in some other way? Should Derby be paying a greater share? Should the
We bottle it,
discharge
sell it to
fees
LA.
be paying more?
So I guess my question to you two then is like, if we see a disparity or discrepancy, what do we do? Are we there to make a recommendations to where the correction must be made in the expenses? Or are we there to say, Tom, go figure it out?
Well, the expenses should really boils down to what's absolutely essential to keep a system that
And-
has to run 24/7,
Cleanly,
365 running.
Mm-hmm.
It's like you can save a few nickels in the road department by saying you're not going to plow the streets until there's 4 inches of snow.
Or we're not going to patch the potholes, yeah.
Or we're not going to patch potholes this summer because we don't have any money left to buy asphalt.
Mhm.
But you can't say to
Saying,
people, we're
"Oh,
going to
we're
shut
not
the
gonna-"
water system
Yeah.
off every third Tuesday of the month, and
Tough
you
shit.
just don't flush the toilet. And that
Yeah.
doesn't work.
No, but I mean, you
Let's move to
decide
Lebanon,
which
yeah.
projects you're going to do, like you predict that you're going to,
Right.
replace all the pipes on the west side.
Well, so that, I
But
think,
that's a separate issue because none of those capital projects
Are there.
are in the operating budget.
yeah, exactly.
They all are specifically
Waiting for a
budgeted
grant to
for and
show up.
filled in, and
Yeah.
generally it's waiting for a grant to show
Yeah.
up before any of them get done.
So that's why I think we're stuck in a hard place, because we don't see a lot of places where like, oh, that's careless spending.
Yeah.
Or unless you're gonna fire somebody, because and then what is that gonna save you, 80 grand
Yeah.
in a year?
And
Well,
I
and the
think,
sewer side, it's not like you can fire a plant operator for the same reason.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
can't shut the plant off
yeah.
1 week a month.
Yeah.
I think one of the things is we're trying to address what happened before, which was they figured out the expenses and then just plugged it in as revenue.
Without
And without-
actually
yeah.
analyzing it.
Turning the knobs on the revenue.
Yeah, yeah, and I think that this is what we, have to address, and also, as people say, the deep dive into what the expenses are.
Mm-hmm.
But to be honest, I think that, a lot of that is so much fixed cost that we're at the mercy of tariffs and all sorts of.
And just the understanding and expectation that, staff are working efficiently.
Yeah.
Because, there's only so much that we can assume goes on day to day.
And I think we have to also recognize that probably our staff costs are higher because we've had to train so many people who have come and gone. I mean, the turnover in the plant has not helped with the stability and the,
Right.
I mean, you might be hiring them at a cheaper rate, but still, if you train somebody and they're gone in however long,
Yeah.
Well, because there's especially on the sewer plant side, there's a shortage of trained operators statewide.
Yeah.
And if they're young and mobile, they're going to go where they make money. And they make more money almost everywhere else than they do here.
Yeah.
So,
And then we can factor in the whole thing of whatever is going to happen with the recertification, the whole thing with the methane.
Yep.
Yeah.
And those are totally unpredictable future capital expenses, unpredictable at this point, other than the assumption that it's going to be expensive.
But doing a cost study on whether methane is something that would be worthwhile,
Yeah.
We could go back to take leachate from the. I'm kidding.
Anyway, just a thought to put out there,
How not to make a
because
friend.
we should stay within a budget.
I
within whatever.
100% agree. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'd like to see that happen.
Yeah. I think the theory of you have a blank check you can fill in for whatever amount is just not appropriate, yeah.
There's another problem, and I mentioned it at the finance meeting, and that every other department, interdepartmental situation that occurs, you know, if the fire department wants to charge somebody, like the rec department, for something, there's two parties that are involved in deciding how much it should be, you know, is this fair for you to charge me for this, etc. With water and sewer, which is supposed to be totally independent from
Each other.
Tom's department,
Public
there's
Works.
no two people hitting up against each other in terms of water and sewer being able to say, no, you shouldn't charge me for the work done on that because that was really for streets.
So this is a really good thing, and I'm glad you mentioned this because we have yet to see or hear from Jason. And I think that's a little surprising and concerning. And so I would like to see Jason's budget. Like, it might be Tom presenting it, but it's Jason building it, I would imagine. And so I do agree that, you know, it's important to see. Tom might be the department head, but Jason's running the show behind the door.
So why wouldn't it be Jason presenting to you?
I don't know who it would be. I don't know who it would be, but I'd like to see Jason and be able to go
Yeah,
through it with
and
Jason.
we don't really know because the only budget that is presented is Tom has presented
Right.
it to the council. So that is an appropriate presentation. But
what I'm saying is that if I were the head of two different departments and one of them was going a little bit low, like I was not having enough money in one department.
could
and I
you
knew
charge me
water-
20,000 for
Yeah,
this as
exactly.
opposed to the 10,000 you were going to because I have too much money and you need money?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So this is probably a question I shouldn't ask out loud, but there's no Jason of the water department.
No, it's the same department technically.
Yeah.
Yeah, there just aren't that many more bodies, so it's all the same group of people basically, other than
Yeah.
the sewer plant operators.
Yeah. But Jason's the lead operator of the plant,
Yeah.
and there's no lead water department person.
It's probably Jason.
Yeah, I'm not sure how they do the water side.
And before Jason, there was a ghost employee, so
Okay. Well, I put Jason should be made available to present and address
Yeah.
questions related to sewer budget. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I think
And
it's
I think
I mean, other than the water
clarify
and
who
sewer
is
rates.
the head of the water department. Something rather interesting.
Yeah.
So other than the water and sewer usage interdepartment, the only issue really is how do you allocate equipment and manpower that the DPW side furnishes to either water and sewer for repairs, maintenance, that sort of thing. And if you have a defined formula for that, in terms of setting hourly rates for equipment. And that was the question I had about the whole
Yeah.
hourly rate sheet. Is that intended to be an interdepartmental sheet, or is that what
I
they?
think it's gotta be. I don't think you
Rarely.
can charge a citizen any more than you're charging each other or vice versa.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how often they'd be charging a citizen for anything. That's a question I had.
Yeah.
Whether that's actually any significant amount of money or not, because I know Paul mentioned quite a few meetings ago that he thought those rates were pretty low.
Abysmally low, they are.
Yeah,
But-
and Tom mentioned that they don't do it that much.
They don't. I think it's only emergency.
Yeah,
Yeah, so it's.
Your water main blew up in the middle of the night kind of thing.
yeah.
So it's basically only a few $1,000s a year then.
Yeah, but what Paul made a good point is like if that happens in the middle of the night and you're billing $47 an hour, that doesn't even cover the cost of getting the guy out of bed to get in the truck to get to the house, right?
Right.
Like, especially overtime, it's going to be 80, 90, $100 an hour.
Right.
So like I
So yeah, so the question I had, or suggestion I was going to make was, at least on the equipment and some of the manpower side, it would make sense just to find out what a private company like Goslin's would charge. Because they have a lot of the same kinds of equipment and
mean
manpower.
yeah. I have without having to do like any sort of like actual solicitation of this information, I can tell you what we pay for an operator to come down an excavator and what a laborer costs per hour, you know, and they're higher than what I see in these rates.
Yeah.
And these are for
Yeah.
pretty small you know, owner-operator type businesses. You call Ghostland, they're gonna be more expensive.
Probably, yeah.
So,
Well, yeah, they're
They're a big
generally,
shop.
like I know you've got Sean Austin in one of your projects.
yeah.
And their excavator rate is probably a couple hundred an hour.
At least, yeah. We usually pay like $1,500 a day for a small excavator and operator. So,
You know, when you think about it, it's not been reviewed. It used to be a separate, it used to be, you know, tacked to the sewer part of the
Right.
ordinance. Then they pulled them apart. Now we have all three, but we only address two going forward.
Right.
And what they had dropped out, you know, that you were gonna be, you know, billed for materials.
Yeah,
That was- yeah.
so I guess the other part of my question is should that rate sheet be used as the basis for interdepartmental?
Only if you update it.
Yeah.
okay, so first question, should rate structure be applied towards interdepartmental and residential
Yeah.
calls?
Or,
And does that include what Paul was mentioning the other day of fees that should be charged for new people coming in, for connections?
No, that's
that's a
different.
totally
That's,
separate issue.
Yeah.
Okay,
Connection fees are a totally different issue.
Yeah.
And I know there's some towns in Chittenden County that charge, it's kind of a consolidated impact fee, which is a combination of water sewer connections and your theoretical impact on municipal infrastructure. And some years ago in Colchester, they charged somewhere over $5,000 for the privilege of building a new house in
Wow.
terms of an impact fee.
Yeah.
Which obviously just, if you're trying to increase housing, throwing more and more fees on like that don't necessarily have a bearing to anything grounded in reality doesn't make any sense.
Yeah. I mean, I've seen a sort of water line protection fee that you pay, you know, quarterly this fee or annually this fee. And if, you know, it breaks between your, you know, curb stop and, you know, your
Oh,
house.
okay, so if you pay that fee, then the municipality will come in and fix it.
Yeah,
But, so it's
which
just-
might not be advantageous
but
considering the
so
HR
not a fee
system.
that would be outrageous, that you were talking about, but a fee that you were just talking about that is related to how much effort people have to make to set you up to begin with.
Yeah.
Right, so and if you are actually building a new house, everything from the curb stop in,
Is on you.
your own private contractor is going to put in and you're going to pay for it anyway. The municipality's only involvement is supervising the installation of the curb stop, if there isn't one there already, and the physical connection. Everything else is on you and your private contractor
Okay, and
anyway.
how much should that cost? Our part of it, the city part of it?
You know, in an ideal world, probably not more than a few $100s.
Yeah. So they have
And
to
how
make a
much are we
connection.
charging now
I have no idea.
For what?
for connection fee at the beginning?
Oh, for
That's,
allocation?
it's in the
For
application
application?
fee.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How much is
there's,
that?
Application fee, new residential, are you ready? $46.
So, I mean, there's a place that money could be raised, and that would go to water and sewer, wouldn't it?
It would, yeah, it's,
and we
I
have
don't know.
maybe 6 or 8 of them. a
I was
year.
gonna say 6 or 8 a year, yeah,
Yeah.
if we're lucky,
Wow,
yeah.
okay.
I think it's why
Really?
this
Is that it?
hasn't been
Well, yeah,
dealt with,
because
it's
no-
so many.
There aren't that many houses being built in Newport because there's no place to put them.
What about just
Well, there-
buying
that's-
buying another person's house?
Oh,
Why,
new,
Yeah.
why would you pay a fee to connect if it's already connected?
Okay.
Yeah.
well, there is an existing residential allocation fee, so I think if you're doing a substantial renovation, maybe you're adding a bathroom or an ADU, it looks
Well,
like,
the way the state regulates it, it's only if you're adding bedrooms in a
okay,
residence.
maybe bedrooms.
If you have a restaurant, say that's a 20-seat restaurant, and you expand it to 60, then you're looking at more allocation.
Commercial
And-
application.
There's a commercial allocation and there's a state formula for figuring out your allocation.
Okay.
based on the number of seats in the restaurant and
Yeah,
then
okay.
whether you're 1 meal, 2 meals, or 3 meals a day.
So,
I won't waste your time.
well,
on this.
what I'm saying is, you know, if somebody wanted to add a bedroom, it looks like it's $18.02 for an allocation fee. It looks like it's regardless of how much you're allocating.
Yeah.
It's not 10 bedrooms is the same price as 1 bedroom.
Some places do it based on the number of gallons that you're
Yeah, I
allocating.
thought there was something with.
Well, and then there's the
gallons.
permit fee, which is
Yeah,
16 cents per gallon per day.
yeah.
Yeah,
So that's your flat application fee plus your allocation fee.
and depending on how long it's been since those have been reviewed, they might be tweaked a little bit.
And so if we're assuming, what was that number, 250 a day is what gets you to 13,500 and a quarter?
Oh, I think so. Oh, from
Was
75.
it
I
quarter,
don't
120
know.
days?
13.5 divided by 90, whatever that is.
No,
Yeah.
right. Yeah. So 150 times 16
Yeah.
cents is 24 bucks. So, we know that our water allocation fees, I'll just put that down right now. Water allocation and application fees are too low. And then, you know, I'm actually looking at these service fees, and this is from December of '24, and I don't think we changed them.
No.
Not since
So,
then.
you know,
The only thing was the wording got added.
okay, they're like per hour or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, and there's one that was, the very bottom one is like per day or something.
Okay.
Whatever, a whole lot of stuff had gotten dropped off.
Yeah,
I think
and-
back when they raised the rates under Laura.
And it's unclear why they're such weird amounts unless they simply did a percentage and didn't round anything off.
I think we can thank somebody like John Ward. I think this is the formula for
They're
that.
obnoxiously specific numbers.
Yeah,
I mean, it makes sense for the labor. Like, I guess, you know, it's funny that we're getting a labor rate of $56.70 per hour when you have no idea what level of staff you're getting. Are you getting Tom for $56.70 an hour? Or are you getting the intern that they just hired to help with meters? So, like, I feel like,
the draw.
like, well, I don't, you know, like, we can't have 40 billing rates
Yeah.
on here, but we
Yeah.
gotta have one that will account for every and anybody who might be pulled into this job. You know, 75, 60 an hour for labor after hours looks like it is, you know, builds in some sort of overtime, but it's not time and a half,
Yeah.
because if you do the math, it's only $18.90 above
Yeah,
the
it does.
56.70.
Well, yeah, unless the theory is that the 5670 included benefits at the time and the time and a half wouldn't cover benefits, but it's
Okay.
clearly out of whack
Yeah,
by
yeah.
today's standards.
I think all of those are out of whack. I mean,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah,
Paul is right.
you
Yeah,
know,
there's
it
another
does.
there's another group of fees that I'm going to mention because Paul mentioned them at one of our first meetings, and that cannot be changed by state law. And those are the fees that are associated with disconnections for non-payment of bills and reconnections. Those fees are established by state statute, and they haven't been adjusted in many, many, many years, but we're stuck with them.
would
It's
that
like-
be a water turn on off?
Yeah, after disconnection, yeah.
Yeah.
Which is different than the regular water turn on and
Okay.
turn off
Yeah.
fees. Yeah, it's like $25 or something. It's definitely not enough to cover, say, somebody driving from the city garage out to my street and turning somebody on and off. You know, they'd barely get there for $25, much less
Yeah.
actually find the shut off, do it and drive
Dig it
back.
up,
Yeah,
get the corrosion bust so they can turn the valve.
yeah.
So, you know, like I guess my question is, like, we know the rates the service fees at least the service fees and equipment and staff need to be adjusted. Are we gonna pretend to know any better than the ladies downstairs who can actually tell us what it would cost to send a guy out there at overtime rate?
No,
I didn't think we would.
I think we wait for input from people that have data.
Yeah.
You know,
I think we have to just flag to request the information.
mhm.
It's not mysteriously going to appear when we need it.
Okay, you said can't adjust the disconnection,
In any circumstance in which it's an enforcement situation.
what would you call it, disconnection?
Disconnection,
Turn
disconnection due to non-payment.
Yeah, non-payment.
I mean, it doesn't happen, or it hasn't happened for years in Newport,
Okay,
that I know of. I mean, I
all right.
remember being told that since John Ward's time, it hasn't happened. Instead, they used the tax sale method.
Actual hourly rates of highest, actual hourly rates of highest paid, actual hourly rate of highest paid staff
Yeah.
person.
Yeah.
Potentially responding staff person.
Yeah, plus actual overtime rates, not including benefits, right?
Yeah, I mean, the hourly rate, I mean, ideally for an hourly rate, you're capturing the benefits too, because if you look at hiring Goslings or Sherman.
Right, they're still getting the same
or
benefits,
anybody,
but
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
okay.
yeah, what you're paying them per hour
Yeah.
includes all of that.
It's interesting, workman's comp, it gets you, you know, how many hours of overtime gets chopped off of your salary figure for figuring out workman's
Yeah,
or
well,
workman's
yeah,
comp.
yeah, the comp rates obviously in those jobs are a lot higher than,
Yeah.
So, just to compare, in 2019, so this is 6 years ago, almost 7, Randolph was billing troubleshooting or other service call during working hours of $50, during non-working hours of $75. So 6.5, 7 years ago, we were right on target with Randolph.
Which is possibly the last time the rates were ever really looked at.
Really looked at, yeah.
yeah.
So, you know, we aren't really behind the 8 ball, we just are not in front of it.
Yeah.
We're under it getting crushed.
Yeah.
You asked that as a question in the 8 ball.
Yeah. I don't have one, unfortunately, yeah.
Try to find another comparison.
Maybe that would be a worthwhile expense.
An 8 ball, I think so.
Geez, I don't know, I was thinking chairs might be better.
That sounds good.
I would go for the chain also, you know, we can do that.
We could sit here pulling tarot cards for you.
Yeah, that might, yeah.
Okay,
How are
so
we gonna make our expenditures?
this one is for Manchester. $45 an hour, regular time. Fiscal year 25. Overtime, $65 per hour. Minimum 4 hours unless waived by the town manager. So that covers the pain in the ass fee of getting out of bed, doing that in the middle of the night.
Yeah,
I'm not seeing equipment rates in many of these.
from what I gather, when they caught the error in the ordinance, Tom came in and asked him about the rates, and he said that a lot of those were developed by John Ward because John Ward wanted the city to go and do what would be private work, of doing a lot of installations and stuff like that.
To try to make money.
I-
You're not gonna make money at those rates.
Well, you gotta realize that you're talking 10 years ago.
Well,
Yeah.
and yeah, that would have been the very tail end of John Ward.
Yeah,
When John started. And
yeah.
yeah, John certainly wasn't known for being fond of overpaying for anything.
Yeah, and I think that was the whole thing, and Tom said, you know, to be honest, you know, we rarely do this. He said, we're so busy, we have not had time to do any, you know, sort of solicitation, oh, by the way, we'll bury your, you know, order line for you.
Well, and should the city even be trying to
Bid against
Yeah.
compete
private.
with private enterprise?
And that was-
has his
Yeah.
hands full just dealing with city
Yeah,
business.
and that's what Tom said, you know, these are moot, they could all disappear, and going, well, you know,
So, but yeah, so the real question, I guess, is whether a rate sheet of that nature should be used for the interdepartmental billing where, because I think what Chip would like to do ideally is for the people whose salaries were split because they were doing things like fixed water main breaks and all that. That's all in DPW, and then they simply bill the water department and interdepartmental billing. You know, say they do what a job that ties 2 guys up for 10 hours and an excavator, a dump truck,
So
whatnot.
what I would recommend is like we follow the V-Trans 2-year average price list. Like you got all this stuff accepted by the state as legitimate rates, right? So type 1 excavator, $135 an hour. That's already more than what we charge for our backhoe.
And
If you start getting big machines, you're talking $215.93 an hour. If you're
and those are machines without operators. The operators are built separately.
that'll have to clarify, but I would think, yeah.
Yeah.
But like, you know, we have a sweeper or a vector. You know, let's try to find that. Vector. Nope. Power broom. That's a sweeper.
Yes.
They're charging. Sorry, let's do a grade. Power grader, $105 an hour. Our grader, $170 an hour. So, you know, it's gonna be all over the chart. But
Interesting.
So that means that the water and sewer budget has to include enough money to pay for this machinery that is going to be built.
That would be an alternative to just saying we're going to allocate a third of the excavator to each department. The whole excavator would go into Public Works, but then it would charge back usage to the other departments.
Is that going to hurt water and sewer? The only people who are concerned with how much the rates are going to go up are you guys and the public.
Yeah, it's hard to say. It's more, I think it's more predictable just to come up with the arbitrary percentages for the equipment.
Until you get some facts, because we don't have, I think we need to track and then, you know, sort of whatever, a 2-year average and maybe use those percentages.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Tom seemed to be very unhappy when I think Jennifer Buerling suggested at some time that most of these big trucks have something on them that can say immediately when you get into the truck, water, it's going to be used for water today, or it's going to be used for whatever, and you can
Well,
just turn the switch.
some types of equipment have hour meters, and you know, if you take the time and do the paperwork to keep a log, you know, I mean, even my riding lawn tractor has an hour meter. It's not a very big one.
most everything has an hour meter now.
Yeah.
But it's taking that information and utilizing it.
And somebody has to compile it all and
Yeah,
utilize it,
yeah.
And I mean, now the only thing they use the hour meters for, I expect, is tracking maintenance cycles.
Yeah.
And that's the big reason, or one big reason that equipment has them, because maintenance is figured based on hours of usage.
I mean, thinking about it, it could be an absolute bear, just trying to track
admin,
some of
yeah.
these things, yeah.
I mean, a house call is one thing. Someone says, I need an emergency house call. They send 2 guys out. They go back to the shop and bring a piece of equipment. That should be that should be standard operating practice. Be like, okay, we have to send this person a bill, and here's a cut sheet of what we used, right?
Yeah.
That shouldn't be that difficult. But they can't possibly be expected to do that on everything they do all day long, right?
Well, yeah, the problem with that is the amount of time it takes to keep track of it.
Yeah.
I mean, I just think about it from the point of view of, in my office, I never did very much work that was billed at hourly rates. 80% of what I've done for the last 15 years has been flat rate billing, which saves hours and hours and hours of administrative overhead
It's a lump sum.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
And,
yeah.
it's a real pain in the neck to keep track. And,
That's why I love those lump sum contracts.
So the metered vehicle does not spit out after the end
God,
of the
no.
day.
It doesn't
No,
have
no,
No, you have
the
to,
Nautilus
you have
is
to write it
like-
down before and after.
yeah, the meter is not, you
Can't tamper with
you have
it.
an odometer in your car?
Pardon?
You have an odometer, a mileage meter in your
Yeah.
car? Okay,
Just
well,
like
the
that.
hour meters and the equipment are the same thing. It's just another little
Yeah.
thing that.
I thought it was actually recording it for you,
Oh, no,
so that you
no.
can take out your sheet at the end
Well,
of the night.
sometimes you can, like there's a trip meter on a car and some nice piece of equipment will have like, you have your all-time hours and you have your trip hours, but
Yeah.
the likelihood that a guy's gonna remember when they get in the cab and press reset
Yeah,
is pretty slim to none.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
But like it is so like we, I'll write this in like, staff personnel policy.
I mean, I can tell you, I have a lawyer in Connecticut where I asked about the increment billing, and they have the timer on the phone. And it
Yeah.
goes automatically in.
Right.
Oh, yeah,
This is
you
the
can
thing,
spend
yeah.
tens of thousands of dollars
Yeah.
on those fancy billing systems, which are totally impractical for small practices.
Businesses.
Yeah, it wouldn't worth it, but I can tell you, when I got to, 11 minutes, I'm shutting them down.
Yeah, wow. I mean.
Don't wanna go to the 60th minute.
I'm tangentially involved in something where one of the people charges $2,000 an hour, and yeah, you can see that meter clicking over in the tenth of an hour increments.
Mm-hmm.
I remember talking to somebody who had some outrageous pay, and I'm sitting there saying, we spent 2 minutes with bullshit, and this is costing,
$40.
Yeah.
Yeah,
There certainly are devices that record more efficiently than our guys are doing. I mean, you don't tell me that the electric company is doing that. They have a much more sophisticated system, and I will bet it does spit out. all
And the question is, like John said, is it worth it for the
Right.
size of what we're doing? And this is, I think we have to run, cost benefit analysis on all of these things.
Well,
The ideal would be you could separate the two, except that's not going to be efficient in the city.
well, yeah.
I guess you could do it by the day or by the week. I mean, if you could decide what increment is enough to record, so that if a truck is being used for 5 days by sewer, then we could track all the 5-day increments. And at the end, we'd have sort of a general idea that sewer is using it 40% of the time and water 20, and
I think even the white van, the water sewer van, which is all the equipment in there, that goes out on calls, that probably is just average between the two.
yeah,
Because you look at it, I mean,
They might do-
90% of the time you go for a water or a sewer, it's the other side is there too.
well, that and also they might do 7 different calls in a day.
Yeah.
And bounce back and forth between those two departments.
yeah, I'm just saying, don't count those.
Don't
Just
count
count the big, count the big
The pieces of
increments.
iron, the big yellow ones, and the people, I think is the most important part. Because especially if they're purchasing equipment that costs a lot of money and is depreciating, we need to at least try to have a realistic tracking of where that
Yeah.
utilization is going.
We're talking the same theory of apropos of when do you split when you put a meter in?
Yeah.
When
Yeah.
is it cost effective to just, have to
Start the
track
next
and-
quarter,
Yeah,
yeah.
And that's actually, and there's a related meter question that we have to think about at some point too, to add to the list. And that is, how do we address, and that was my item 5 here, how do we address those existing buildings where it is not even remotely cost effective to put a meter in? It's going to be thousands of dollars to put a meter in for a house. What's the cutoff point where you say we're not going to force the homeowner to do it because of the specific unusual circumstances of their existing home?
I feel wholly unqualified to answer this, and I feel like we gotta wait till Paul comes back, because he's the only one who probably has a real world example.
Right,
Right.
but it's a question that we're going to have to figure out because it's going to have to be written into the new sewer
And
ordinance.
it's gonna be some weird dichotomous key where you're like, if this then, if this then, you know, it's gonna be ugly.
Right, because we're going to have to establish some sort of fixed rate structure for those places.
Mhm.
And my recollection is there may be, 15 or 20 of those extremely difficult situations. And
We have at least 10 that pre-exist that the city cannot cure the problem. And that's the city's problem alone. Or cost effectively cure the problem.
yeah, importance
And
on
you-
the city side.
You need it for another reason, which is that the disgruntled person who would have to pay $1,000 or $1,200 or just below whatever you set the, you don't have to do this, is going to be very upset unless it's very clear
Yeah.
that that law is established.
I mean, you could do it on a, whatever, a 5-year payback. If, it can be paid back within 5 years, house is less than, 100 years old, it might be worth it,
Yeah.
It just, there are certainly a lot of ways you can float with doing that. But I think it's something we really have to consider because, if somebody's living in a trailer and it's gonna cost $5,000 to get their meter in.
And it's a $5,000 trailer, they're gonna forget,
Yeah,
walk away.
Yeah.
And but that's something we definitely are going to need for the updated version of the water sewer ordinances, to figure that in.
How does that impact your ability to find out where the losses are occurring? Assuming there are.
Hopefully it will be so few that it will affect, but, nothing like what we're talking about now. I mean, if we suddenly see that, 100,000 gallons is, being utilized by 10 people, we might sit there and say, well, I really don't think so, But a leak really can add up a lot,
Well,
just a trip.
I don't know how those loss studies would work, in terms of how they go about figuring it.
The leak studies?
Yeah.
They technically, according to Paul, sort of like a stethoscope. And you can do
Listen to it,
a
yeah.
low-level, low-cost one in the middle of the night when people are not flushing the toilets. If you hear water streaming, then you know you have a problem. So, there is a low-cost method, then there is one where, it's absolutely formal.
So it's basically a variation on, just the toilet float is stuck, I hear it running continuously.
Yeah, it is, you've got it.
It's like when I wake up in 5 o'clock in the morning and hear all my pipes running through the house. The heat's being pumped through the radiators, but I think it's a leak in my basement. And I go running down half naked to check. Oh wait, everything's fine. I go back to bed.
Yeah, when we lived in a house with hot water heat, we could tell the same thing. You
Yeah.
could hear it running through the pipes.
Yeah.
Yeah, same idea.
Or the ones that are steam. Flump, 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 flump.
Well, yeah, those are real obvious.
Yeah, they really are, yeah.
Okay, so how to budget for leak detection and transmission loss study, need to include this in upcoming budget.
At least start it, no, for sure.
Yeah, I'd love to, especially because he's, if he's got plans for SIAS, and it's the smallest and oldest in town, and he has third-party verifiable proof that we have major losses, nothing shows need to a grantor than having proof of inefficiencies and system losses, right? So like, you might spend a little bit here and then make a lot back so that you can get that project addressed.
So in other words, the leak study may actually enhance the ability to get grants.
Yeah, it's demonstrating need. Like what we
Yeah.
suck at in Newport is demonstrating need, right? Because the more you have to demonstrate need, the more vulnerable you are, the more you have to admit that we're not doing things great, or we're kind of struggling over here, and nobody's prouder than the NEK-er, right? So it's kind of like this, like take it on the chin to then be given a handout.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I think we need to stop being so, proud about how resilient we might be. Stubborn.
Yeah.
I wasn't gonna say that, but thank you.
You're welcome.
Because
I don't have to mince my words.
yeah, because if we really could show like this service line provides water to 15% of the city and it has a 20% loss,
Yeah,
then
That's significant.
we're losing 3% of our water in this one block or this one trunk line.
Yeah,
So I think like we really need to start doing that, and I think you're right. If we can just start chipping away at it and just start isolating
Yeah.
quadrants of the system.
yeah, I mean, there have been specific streets where when the streets were rebuilt over years past, all the water and sewer
Mhm.
lines were replaced at the same time, and that's contributed to a lot of reduction up to
Yeah.
this point. But then the last few years, the streets haven't been done.
And it's nobody wants to tear up Sias. I mean, I live on it, but it's also like it's a main thoroughfare. It's the school. It's how the ambulances get to the hospital. It's going to cause mayhem for a while. So
Jeez. I'm old enough, I remember when it was mostly
Dirt.
road,
I hear that.
dirt road and no sidewalks.
Yeah. I like the sidewalks on the other side of the street. I love that.
Yeah,
Anyway. Okay, so I've got 5 major bullet points with a couple of them that have a bunch of sub points. And we're not going to come to any conclusions tonight, but I think this is good fodder and shows that we had a conversation and can fill other people in.
yeah. Yeah, it's really a case of needing to gather a lot more information.
yeah.
So we've all justified our existence tonight.
Yeah. So what do I ask of Rick? First thing that we need from Rick, I guess, would be like, can we
Can we learn who's the head of the water department?
Yeah.
I mean, that's one of the
That's a
things I
good
think that
question.
it is, I think we really need to address that. And also ask if it's possible that, the heads or head of water and sewer come and work on a budget with us,
Or
potentially, or present a
at
budget.
least present
Yeah.
their working expense budgets
Yeah.
with us.
Okay, so
Yeah.
for Rick,
Yeah.
please provide us with the following. Clarity as to the head of water department and head of sewer department and their ability to be present to review proposed expense
Proposed
and
budget,
revenue
yeah.
budgets. Are we gonna ignore the fact that we pretty much understand this to be Tom?
We might as well get it confirmed.
Okay. Sorry, let me just get my act together here.
Because I do think that it is Tom.
Okay.
I mean, the guys
Actu-
might say we need so much chlorine, but,
Yeah, actual hourly billing rates for higher
highest paid. and lowest
level
paid, yeah.
sewer and water employees,
Here's a question.
overtime.
If there is an emergency call in the middle of the night that's a water line, is it our general public works that goes?
I think it's whoever's on call, and if they
Okay.
need backup, they probably call them. That's how I would set it up, You guys are rotating on
Yeah.
call, and
Yeah,
if you need backup, you call your soup,
yeah.
I have no idea, that's how I would imagine it's set up. I mean, I don't think someone's sitting at the plant all the time,
No, they get on-call pay, I do know that.
and they
Somebody
get
is
alarms
involved.
that
Yeah,
trigger, So, I wouldn't, if I start getting a massive leak in the middle of the night, I wouldn't know who to call other than Tom's cell phone.
and you're privy to his cell phone, which most people aren't.
Yeah, I know, yeah.
You would, in the middle of the night, the only place to call is,
The police
There's,
department? That's what I thought, okay.
yeah, which at least is not going over to Williston.
Okay, service fee schedule. Okay, then, we need,
I mean, they don't hesitate to call you in the middle of the night, the police department. Let's call them.
We still need how much money's left over for water meters.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How much money is left over from water tower and available for water meters?
Yeah.
Okay.
We need Tom's budget for water and sewer.
I think we addressed who
This
does
is-
the budget first, yeah.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
in there.
The budget presentation,
Okay.
yeah. And we need to schedule it for sure when Paul's ramped.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not sure when he's coming back, but he was gonna be gone for about 6 weeks or so.
Oh wow, I didn't know that. Okay.
I think he's already used part of that up,
Yes, yeah,
Yeah.
he's,
so, yeah, another couple of weeks. But we're right on Thanksgiving and Christmas too. Did we set our next meeting?
not yet.
Okay.
Are you kidding?
Oh, you want me to put that on Rick's plate?
No.
'Cause he's gonna be the limiting factor, I would imagine.
Yeah, and it probably doesn't make sense to meet again until we know that we can have some of this together.
Please recommend a
So you're not setting a date?
PA,
time for next lecture task force based on your availability and hey. Yeah, we're going home. You don't have to sit down.
yeah. We're
I'm
just
serious.
writing our notes for
I'm
you.
glad to hear
Send you
it.
your notes and
I'm glad to hear it.
Have you been across the hall all this time?
Yeah, well, not quite.
I heard you come in.
I totally forgot that I had a meeting. I was supposed to show up at the West Charleston Select Board meeting at 6. And I had 2 meetings back to schedule on top of each other at 6:30. One, which was only supposed to be an hour. So I intended to be here 45 minutes ago.
Well, congratulations on making it.
Yeah, for just a moment to say hello. I'm
We've
sorry.
been just wasting time waiting for you to come. so we
I'm
could-
certain that
Yeah.
nothing got done.
No, nothing. No
Yeah.
meaningful discussions.
Yeah.
So you're
Pam
gonna
was
get
falling
it.
asleep in the corner, yeah.
Okay.
Okay, well, one question that I'd like to just get at, remove from this email so that we can be clear. Is Tom the head of the DPW, the water, and the sewer, or is Jason the head of the sewer? And if so, who the hell's the head of the water?
Tom is in charge of all three areas.
Is Tom really building the budget for sewer, or is Jason and Tom submitting it? And if so, who's building the water? Because if we're gonna be asking Tom questions about the sewer and he's not the one actually building the budget, then why is Tom here? We need Jason. Is what we're getting at.
Yeah, I think we're going to have to sort that out because
Okay.
we're asking. I mean, what Chip is recommending is a way of doing this that we haven't done it before, right? So we're going to have to create a new process
Okay.
by which to do that.
So clarity as to the lead budget developer of water department and sewer department.
And all of
Because,
that comes about because the council, acting as the water and sewer commissioners, should be blessing in January so that they can make it into the annual report.
Without a doubt, I
The
agree with the
budgets.
chorus from last year and before.
The July 26th through June 27 water and sewer budgets.
Yes, but just to be clear, I don't think that Chip, and certainly I'm not proposing that we change the historic practice of Tom being ultimately responsible for the work of all 3 of those areas. We're not.
well, I don't disagree because he's the overseer, but he might not have the answers to half the questions we want to ask.
That's possible.
So that's what
We need to know how he wants to delegate it.
yeah.
Follow with the previous discussion, which is where are the checks and balances?
Yes, that's a good point. Like,
Fair enough. I've heard those questions and I don't have a good answer to them because we're making it up as we go along in this one.
yeah.
Well, let's make
You
it
know-
a good answer.
Well, I mean, I think one of the questions is how do other cities do it, right? I'd like to find out how Rockingham or St. Albans or somebody else is doing that because I know we're not the only ones trying to do it this way.
Yeah.
So,
Other places that are roughly the same size, so they would have the same level of staffing.
exactly.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm gonna press send.
do. And then we can work on those questions when Tom gets back
Yeah.
next week.
And then the other thing we're looking at is probably not setting a date for our next meeting until we know, we have some of this information.
Fair enough.
Do you have anything firm on the loan at all? Like how much spare money might be there
Water
for
tower.
water tower for?
No, I still don't have a final number, though. I am confident that it will be more. I want to say this carefully. I am relatively confident that it will be more than we need at the current way we're doing it, right? Where we're just paying for the machinery and then billing, using our own labor and not billing for that labor at this point, right? I think we will have more than enough to finish, in part because the assumption much of the summer and into the fall was that there were expenses incurred before the construction loan was started a year ago
That you guys had to swallow.
that we would pull back into the general fund once that loan was arranged. But in fact, when push came to shove, I think Chip and Tom determined that they couldn't come up with a significant expense that had not been, that had been a drain on the general fund in that way. So I don't think there's an intention to try and pull what I thought would be, $200,000, $250,000, $300,000 into the general fund out of that loan to reimburse for previous expense. Meaning that money then is available to help with the water meter installation. So it's bad news for the general fund, good news for the meter installation. But I don't have any of the specifics under that right now.
You probably don't even have the final bills from CCAR.
That's what I mean, right? I can't even tell you what the final costs are. And I'm not deep enough in it, and I've been distracted with some other things, so I can't give you a good explanation for why Chip and Tom are thinking that the general fund is not owed money, because I kind of bought into an assumption that was implicit all summer long about that. Fun. Yeah.
Good. Unless there's anything else, I think we ought to wrap it up.
This is my way to go to a meeting.
Yeah, in and out.
How are we coming with the bond bank, by the way?
Oh, good question. I can just give you the quick answer on that one. We met with the bond bank folks yesterday. It was Carter and Carrie and Chip and I met with them. And we are going to turn in an application to them sometime in the next couple of weeks, well before the December 15th deadline. They will start on their questions for us. We expect it to be a back and forth thing. It won't just be here's our application and they vote it up or down. It will be okay, we see your application and now we want this or that. And they have told us that as soon as we get them the initial information, they'll go to work on it. And the way they're talking, assuming everything works out the way it's supposed to, we'll have an answer. They'll take it to their board the end of January. We'll have an answer by mid-February, and we could have the loan arranged, the bond arranged by early March even. So it could go much more quickly than I had been led to believe.
Can I ask a bad question? What if they said no? We have
I'm
to go
not going
another-
there. They're going to say yes.
Okay, fine.
I'm losing sleep about a lot of things. That's not one of them. They've been watching this very closely all the way along, and I'm confident that we can meet the standards that they need us to meet. And if they
Relatively
don't,
confident.
we'll figure it. We'll cross that bridge when we get to it.
They were fairly positive when Rick first approached them, because I think I was on that.
That's right, you were on that early call.
Approach thing, yeah.
Yeah. One of the questions they were asking is funny. They asked about, how did they put it? It wasn't duration or longevity. There was something they asked that implied length of time. And I said, oh, we're looking for a loan for 25 years. And they said, no, you misunderstand. We want to know what the terms of office are for your current council that is supportive of this effort. Because we don't want to lose you in the middle of this process. So it was funny because I just totally missed their question.
You have another year left, right?
Yeah, so Carter, Andrew, and I are all on
2
terms
years.
through a year and 2 months, 3 months from now.
Okay.
Yeah. So John's got to run yet
John
again,
and Kevin.
and Kevin, right? But It was pretty funny.
Bless your heart.
Then I made a crack about, well, Carter might be still around in 25 years, but I won't be. So.
I refuse to comment on that.
Yeah, so did she. It's interesting. She said, "Yeah, I'm not. That's not on the cards. We're not doing that."
Might be Canadian citizens by then.
We all wish.
Yeah, I keep lobbying for Vermont to be included, so we don't have to move.
That would be great.
Move to adjourn.
Well, the 9 nations of North America.